So I think an interesting conversation to have actually about that this fight brings up is you'd think it's completely unrelated. I don't think we've actually had this conversation on this program. So some people have advocated for open scoring in MMA. Open scoring meaning that at the end of every round, when the judges put in their scorecards, put in the scores for that round, because by the way, the judges don't decide before at the end of the fight. They put in their scores at the end of every round, and they can't change it. So people have advocated, what if we just flash those scores to the audience? The fighters, the coaches, and the audience know what the score is coming into that next round. Well, now it wouldn't have happened in this fight because it was 1-1 on 2 out of the 3 judges' scorecards. But let's say it was 2-0 for Zuba. And Zuba, as we know, what he did, what he thought he was going to do, or what he did, he ran away when he thought he was up 2-0. That can happen again and again when you see fighters up 2-0 in 3-round fights. They just run away and just try to survive that 3rd round. They don't engage. They don't fight back. And then this is a serious concern that of something that can happen if we engage or if we bring in open scoring. What do you guys think about that?
I feel like that leads to like a lot of different outcomes and like a lot of different fights, and that they would play out severely differently as if open scoring weren't a thing. And I don't know. I feel like that changes the sport a lot.
But is it in a good way or a bad way?
I don't know. We'd have to see it play out. I mean, like practically as opposed to just theorizing what it could be. But I don't know if it could be good or bad.
No, what do you think?
I'm gonna just stand on Adam's answer because I feel like anything I'm gonna say is gonna make me sound like a dumb ass. So I am inclined to agree with Adam.
So actually, on that note then, here's what I'm kind of frustrated about. Luke Thomas talks about this all the time. Why is it that the UFC is not going and trying these things out? Why don't they go into, for example, LFA or Cage Warriors or Cage Rage or all the other regional promoters that promote under the UFC? They have deals with them, right? They're all on the UFC Fight Pass. So all these things they could, if they wanted to, convince these regional promotions to try out these different types of scoring systems, these different types of rule sets, whatever it might be, change things up, try them out at the regional level. When you look at all the other major sports organizations, the NHL, the NBA, the NFL, MLB, they all have the AAA affiliate. They all have these minor league leagues where all the rules that they go and bring into the big league, they first adopt in the minor leagues, see what's going to happen, collect the data, see if it has a positive or negative impact on the sport, and then they choose whether or not to bring it into the major leagues. But if you don't even try, you're never going to know. And the UFC doesn't try shit. It's so frustrating.
Well, yeah. I'll tell you one thing. Never underestimate just the sheer power of like people's egos on the top. At the end of the day, a lot of business decisions that may not seem to make sense can just come down to executives who just say, I know what's best. It's my way or the highway. And they're not going to take any external ideas.
It's possible. There's also the power of inertia. You can never underestimate the power of inertia, right? The way that it is it's just easy to keep it the way that it is, right? It takes effort. It takes energy to go and change and move things off of the status quo. And if no one's going to go and take that initiative and take that first step to start to move things in the right direction, it's just never going to happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem to be Dana's first priority. Money seems to be Dana's first priority. Mm-hmm. Yes, go ahead.
Making any kind of sweeping changes, also, it's a costly endeavor that he'd have to undertake. I don't know. It's interesting. I would love to know what Dana's 5 to 10 year plan is, because there's absolutely a 5, 10, 20-year plan for like the future of UFC, Dana's role. And because I mean, he's very resistant to like, external kind of influences. So I'm wondering what that plan for the next couple of years is. I'd really like to know how COVID really interrupted those 5 to 10 year plans. I mean, something like
wise it did.
I wonder if even something like the island and investing in Abu Dhabi. I mean, investing in like the UAE was absolutely part of like a long-term plan. I wonder if the island was like a last-minute sort of thing, or if it was something that had been in the works.
The island was
previously.
A last-minute thing.
Probably was. That's the kind of thing
have,
that goes his way. But like things like just anything that's in a large amount of money is invested in, that those are things that have been thought of years in advance.
So I think there's a couple big changes it's going to have. So one of them is things are going to be rushed or changed. Things that they would have considered, maybe they were already considering, they're going to implement more, I guess, aggressively. So one example of that is the UFC hotel that they announced a couple months ago. They wouldn't have done, I think they were probably going to do that eventually anyway, but I think that COVID really sped that up. It gave them a good reason to want to do it now, so they have an easy place to quarantine. But in general, the UFC has already been trying to become more independent, more just not reliant on anybody else, right? So you see them putting up these PIs everywhere, as I mentioned, as we spoke about last week, yes. They put so that they can kind of invest in people and in talent all around the world without having to rely on these gyms. And I think what they're going to start doing is the same kind of thing in the regional scene, because they see that the regional MMA scene is falling apart because they don't have ticket sales among the COVID era. They're the ones that are really, really punished the hardest. And so I think that they're starting to invest in that as well. Noah, you're trying
I just want to interject, because based on your description, it may not be clear to laymen out there. PI does not mean a private investigator in this circumstance. The UFC is not sending private investigators to look into potential athletes. These are performance institutes.
Yes, they are putting these performance institutes all around the world. And so, yes, but the point is, again, they're investing in ways to become more independent, less reliant on anybody else. And that, I think, is going to start including the regional scene. I'm really excited to see what the UFC does to try to grow the regional scene and give these regional fighters a chance to fight, because you can have as many PIs as you want. You can have as many guys training at these high-level gyms as you want. But if you have no regional scene for these guys to actually test themselves and come in with some experience into the UFC, it's all for naught, right? And so what we see them starting to do is the first step that they're doing, which is the easiest thing they could do, is they're starting up with Tough again, right? They have the Ultimate Fighter that's starting up again, and I actually want to talk about that in the news. So I guess we can talk about that in a minute. So the Ultimate Fighter starting up again. They're doing Contender Series seasons, and they're doing as many as they can. They're probably planning on doing these things anyway, but again, they're rushing them in to give the guys that have had no chance to fight and no chance to test themselves a chance to do so, and a chance to make money.